What if I told you there exists a hidden letter from over 2,000 years ago, authored by the man who condemned Jesus to death? This remarkable document provides details about Jesus' appearance that are not mentioned in the Bible. The letter comes from Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor who ultimately disregarded Jesus' fate. Many of us envision Jesus with a calm expression, dark hair, a beard, and deep-set eyes. Pilate was not just any Roman official. He was the one who faced Jesus directly, witnessing the crowd's demand for his crucifixion. The observations Pilate made and recorded in his letter could significantly alter our understanding of Jesus. This is not merely an overlooked ancient text. It could be a pivotal moment in reshaping our views on history and faith. Most intriguingly, this letter might provide the closest account we have to an eyewitness description of Jesus. Pilate offers a portrayal of Jesus that is both striking and haunting. He describes a man of remarkable virtue, whose presence evoked both love and fear. Interestingly, Pilate notes that Jesus had brown, almost golden hair and skin that distinguished him from others. The letter goes beyond just physical traits. Pilate also highlights Jesus' character, wisdom, and manner of speaking. Even someone as powerful as Pilate was struck by Jesus. He recalls how Jesus responded to every inquiry with calmness and intelligence that left everyone, including himself, in awe. Pilate recognized in Jesus something deeper than what others perceived, a man who transcended the roles of prophet or leader. He was something extraordinary, something divine. If you're new to our community, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. The fact that Pilate took the time to detail his observations of Jesus is truly significant. At that time, there were no cameras, photos, or social media to capture a person's image. Descriptions were the only way to preserve someone's appearance for future generations. Pilate's description is so vivid and detailed that it seems he wanted to make sure we never forgot what Jesus looked like. In his letter to the Roman Emperor Tiberius, Pilate didn't just focus on Jesus' actions or teachings, but he took the time to describe his physical appearance. According to Pilate, Jesus was a man of great virtue, but what really stands out is his appearance. He imagines a tall man, with a face so striking that it could evoke both love and fear in those who looked upon him. Pilate mentions that his hair was brown, dark, but with a warm, almost golden hue. It was long and slightly wavy, falling to his shoulders, with a middle parting, as was typical among Nazarites. This description moves away from the dark, curly-haired image we often see in modern depictions. Pilate continues to describe Jesus' face, and this is where it becomes even more fascinating. He speaks of face without blemishes or wrinkles, with radiant, clear skin. Jesus' beard, according to Pilate, was thick and the same color as his hair, and his eyes were gray and piercing, clear and intense. These details, carefully noted, suggest that his appearance was not just ordinary, but truly extraordinary. He was someone who stood out from the crowd, even in a place as bustling and diverse as ancient Jerusalem. At that time, most people in the region had dark hair, dark eyes, and a darker complexion, traits typical of the Middle Eastern population. But why is this relevant? Why should we care about the color of Jesus' hair or the shade of his eyes? The reality is that these details can profoundly influence our understanding of Jesus' identity and how those around him perceived him. If Jesus truly had a distinctive appearance, it could shed light on why he drew so much attention, captivating many and in some instances instilling fear. His unique looks might have been seen as a physical reflection of his spiritual importance, hinting at his divine essence. Yet, this revelation carries a more troubling implication. Pilate's thorough description prompts unsettling questions about why the Gospels omitted such details. Was this omission deliberate? Did early Christians choose to emphasize Jesus' teachings over his physical traits to prevent distractions or controversies? Or did the significance of these stories diminish as they were handed down through the ages? This ambiguity adds an element of mystery and unease, the anxiety of potentially never uncovering the complete narrative. There is a lingering fear that vital truths have been concealed from us for centuries. Considering Pilate's account, It becomes evident that Jesus was far from an ordinary individual, and the way Pilate describes him only deepens his enigmatic aura. This letter may offer one of the rare insights into the authentic Jesus, not just as a religious figure, but as a real person who lived, walked, and was witnessed by others. It challenges us to reevaluate our perceptions and ponder, what else might we overlook about the man who changed the course of history? This is merely the beginning, as Pilate's letter conceals further secrets and truths waiting to be uncovered. Moreover, Pilate's letter reveals much more than just Jesus' appearance. It also exposes the profound turmoil and regret that plagued Pilate after he sentenced Jesus to death. In his correspondence with Emperor Tiberius, Pilate admits to the overwhelming pressure he faced from the Jewish leaders and the restless crowds. He did not see Jesus as a threat, but the crowd certainly did. They cried out for blood, and fearing a riot, Pilate felt trapped. He recognized Jesus' innocence, a truth evident in the way he recounted their exchanges. Yet, in a moment of vulnerability, he succumbed to the demands of the mob. This choice was not merely a political maneuver. It was profoundly personal, and the weight of regret would haunt him relentlessly. However, that day was marked by more than just Pilate's internal struggle. His letter describes extraordinary events: tombs opening, the dead rising and mingling with the living, and a violent earthquake that struck fear into the hearts of those who witnessed these occurrences. Even Pilate, a man accustomed to wielding power and authority, felt his heart quiver. The fear in his account is palpable. He was not only afraid of losing control, but also of the consequences of his actions. In a symbolic gesture, he washed his hands before the crowd, attempting to declare his innocence in Jesus' death. Yet, deep down, he understood the truth. The guilt was his to bear, and no amount of water could wash it away. The pervasive dread that enveloped Jerusalem that day was not just a physical phenomenon, it was deeply spiritual as well. Pilate understood that by condemning Jesus, he had unleashed something he could not stop. The darkness that covered the land was a sign, one he could not ignore. It was as if the universe was responding to the injustice of Jesus' death, a cosmic reaction to an event that would resonate throughout history. Pilate's fear was not only for his own fate, but for what might come as a consequence of his actions. His letter to Tiberius is imbued with the weight of this remorse. He speaks of the ominous signs and strange events that followed Jesus' death, all with a sense of foreboding. Pilate realized that the people, history, and he himself would not easily forget what he had done. The darkness that covered Jerusalem reflected the darkness that now loomed over his own soul. Jerusalem was one of the most unstable regions under the rule of the Roman Empire, despite its vastness and power. Pilate's letter to Emperor Tiberius reveals how precarious his situation was and how this led him to make one of the most controversial decisions in history. He could not afford to rely on overwhelming military force to impose Roman control in Jerusalem. In fact, surprisingly, he lacked resources and only had a small contingent of soldiers at his disposal. This situation meant that maintaining order was an ongoing struggle for Pilate. He was acutely aware of the precariousness of his role. Any sign of weakness could spark an uprising, which was something Rome could not afford to overlook. At the same time, he recognized that inaction could be just as perilous. The Jewish leaders wielded significant influence, and their ability to sway the populace was formidable. If they chose to oppose him, they could easily incite a rebellion among the people. Pilate's letter reflects his deep-seated anxiety about a potential uprising, particularly given his limited military resources. The circumstances were so fragile that even a minor disturbance could escalate into a full-blown crisis. Consequently, Pilate made a perilous choice, believing it would safeguard the tenuous peace in Jerusalem. He opted to sacrifice Jesus, an innocent man, to placate the crowd and maintain order. Pilate was fully aware that this was an unjust decision, yet he felt he had no viable alternatives. The stability of the region, and perhaps his own position as governor, hinged on this difficult choice. His decision was driven not by malice, but by fear of losing control and fear of the repercussions of defying the crowd. Yet, this choice did not yield the peace he sought. Instead, It set off a series of events that would echo throughout history. By opting to crucify Jesus, Pilate aimed to appease the Jewish leaders and prevent any potential unrest. However, he misjudged the significance of the man he condemned. The crucifixion of Jesus would spark a new movement that would challenge both the Roman Empire and its religious authorities. Pilate's choice, made in the name of preserving stability, ultimately played a role in the rise of Christianity, a faith that would flourish despite Rome's efforts to suppress it. The irony is striking. In trying to maintain the empire's tenuous grip on Jerusalem, Pilate inadvertently fueled a movement that would eventually spread across the empire and beyond. His pursuit of immediate peace led to long-term consequences he could never have foreseen. Despite its might, the Roman Empire often found itself stretched thin. Pilate's letter underscores the reality that even the most powerful empires can be vulnerable when they overreach. Rome's control over distant territories, often with limited resources, justified its anxiety about losing authority in Jerusalem. Pilate's narrative serves as a reminder of the difficulties faced by those in power, particularly when their authority rests on unstable ground. More than just an ancient text, Pilate's letter offers a glimpse into the psyche of a man grappling with fear, regret, and the weight of authority. He confronted the daunting challenge of maintaining peace in a city perpetually on the edge of chaos, and in doing so, made a decision that continues to resonate through history. By ordering the crucifixion of Jesus, Pilate believed he was safeguarding the fragile stability of Jerusalem. However, he inadvertently laid the groundwork for a new era, one that would witness the emergence of a faith that would ultimately challenge the might of Rome. The darkness that enveloped Jerusalem on the day of Jesus' crucifixion was not merely a physical occurrence. It symbolized the moral shadow cast over Pilate and his choices. This shadow extended well beyond that fateful day, leaving behind a legacy filled with uncertainty. Pilate's narrative serves as a poignant reminder of the burdens of leadership and the repercussions of decisions made from fear rather than conviction. Beyond its historical context, Pilate's letter presents a deeply human story, that of a man who, despite his authority, grappled with the same fears and doubts that we all experience. His struggle to navigate the perilous landscape of political and social pressures led him to a choice from which he could never truly escape, no matter how many times he attempted to absolve himself by washing his hands. Ultimately, the tale of Pilate, Jesus, and the darkness that fell over Jerusalem transcends mere history. It compels us to reflect on the choices we make in our own lives. How often do we opt for the easier path out of fear or convenience, rather than standing firm for what we know is right? Pilate's story challenges us to consider the long-term ramifications of our actions, reminding us that even seemingly minor decisions can leave a lasting imprint on history. It is a narrative woven with themes of power, fear, and regret, but also one of unforeseen consequences and enduring impact. The shadows cast on that day in Jerusalem continue to stretch across time, inviting us to contemplate our own lives and the legacies we create. Pilate's letter, with its insights and enigmas, stands as a powerful testament to the complexity of human nature and the weight of the choices we make. Thank you for accompanying us on this intriguing exploration.